Thank you for turning to page 121. Today we're going to jump into the Wizard Spell Compendium, Volume 1. We're going to look at a spell that was originally presented in Tome of Magic. That's actually a book I've never looked at on the channel. Maybe sometime. The spell is Chain Contingency. What the heck is that? Well, I just looked at Contingency not too long ago. This is its bigger brother. Chain Contingency is a 9th level evocation spell, range is 0. Verbal, somatic, and material components required. 2-turn casting time. Duration is 1 day per level, so the minimum would be 18 days. Area of effect is the caster, and saving throw is none. This powerful spell is similar to the 6th level Contingency spell. Chain Contingency allows the caster to designate either 2 or 3 spells that will take effect immediately under a specific set of circumstances. In other words, when a set of conditions is met, the designated spells are cast immediately without the caster's intervention. Chain Contingency must be cast together with the spells it is to trigger. The caster can choose either 2 spells to occur simultaneously or 3 spells to occur consecutively, 1 per round. So you can have 2 go off at one time, or you can just have 1 spell per round. There's good uses for both. Only the 6th level spell Contingency cannot be included, so you can't put a contingency in your Chain Contingency. The casting time of 2 turns includes the casting time of the spells to be triggered. Unlike the Contingency, spells stored in Chain Contingency can affect creatures other than the caster. These instructions must be carefully worded. The spell obeys the letter of the instructions and not the caster's intentions. In casting Chain Contingency, the wizard defines the conditions that will trigger the stored spells. This definition must be carefully worded, but can be as limiting or general as the caster desires. The caster also states the exact order, target, range, and manner in which the stored spells are to be cast. The spell has several limitations in triggering its spells. It does not have any powers of discernment. Thus, an instruction to, quote, target the highest level enemy is not possible. However, the contingents cannot involve delay. A spell cannot be ordered to trigger 3 turns after I sneeze, for instance. When the named conditions are met, the Chain Contingency is automatically triggered. If all specifics of a casting spell are not specified, that is, target or area of effect, the effect is automatically centered on the caster. Possible triggers might include a fall from a distance greater than the caster's height, the appearance of the first beholder within 30 feet of the caster, or the wizard pointing his finger and pronouncing a specified word. Only 1 Chain Contingency can be placed on the spellcaster at any one time. If a second is cast, the first Chain Contingency is cancelled. It is possible to have both a contingency and a Chain Contingency operating at the same time, provided there is no overlap in the conditions specified for the trigger of the 2 spells. So you can't have them both trigger off the same event or word. Spells triggered by Chain Contingency have a casting time of 1. If the spell is triggered under conditions that are impossible to fulfill, it fails. If one of the spells in a series cannot be fulfilled, the remaining spells in the series are lost. Normal conditions, such as line of sight to the target, must be fulfilled. All spells originate from the caster. Thus, it is not possible for the caster to teleport and leave behind a series of fireballs to blast his enemies. In this case, the fireballs would either fail or destroy something at the caster's destination. The material components are, in addition to those of the companion spells, 500 gold pieces of quicksilver, a gem of at least 1,000 gold piece value, and an eyelash from an ogre mage, Chiron, or similar spell-using creature. The spell also requires a small ivory statuette of the wizard, which is not destroyed, but must be carried by the spellcaster in order for the Chain Contingency to perform its function when triggered. And it's an uncommon spell from the Tome of Magic. So we'll address first the ivory statuette. I allow that to be the same one used in Contingency as in Chain Contingency, and like that one, you have to carry it with you. But I'm okay with that. So it can be the same. At my table, it can be the same statuette. I have played where it had to be a different statuette. Now, it's a 9th level spell. You have to be 18th level to cast this. This was a big impediment to us using this spell for years, but we now, after 40 plus years of gaming, we have several what we call mega level characters or legacy characters who are quite able to cast this spell. We have some ridiculously powerful characters, and it's fun. Some nights we just want to let our hair down a little bit and kick some tail, and That's what those characters are for. That's when they come out. They're in a very long campaign of mine right now for the mega levels, and I think everybody's been enjoying it. But back to the spell at hand. So you have to be 18th level to cast it, and it can be 2 spells that occur simultaneously or 3 spells that can occur consecutively. So for instance, if you want the 2 spells to go off at the same time, you could trigger with a command word, like kaboom. And there's supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom! And that might trigger off 2 fireballs, and the fireballs are designated to go 45 feet away from you and detonate based on the direction you're facing. So when you say the word, if you're facing straight ahead, the fireballs will shoot out 45 feet and detonate. They'll hit anything in between and detonate, and could catch you in the blast and things like that. So it's something you have to be a little selective with, but that gives you 2 fireballs at 18th level. Presumably you were 18th. Well, you had to be 18th to cast the spell, so at 18th level. So that's 2 fireballs, 2 separate saving throws. 2 separate MR checks if applicable, because higher level creatures often have MR. But you get the idea. That can be quite powerful. Or you can do 3, and the 3 spells can be, for instance, one that has been used at my table is Magic Missile, and it's going to be 1, 2, 3 rounds in a row, but it'll be anytime, whatever direction my left hand is facing. So that's a pretty simple thing, and it'll go off in a command word of Tomahawk, and the command word will then trigger the first one off your left hand, and then for the next 2 rounds, wherever you're pointing your left hand, that's where a magic missile will go. At my table, you could still cast something that requires verbal, somatic, and material components with your right hand and use your left hand, except for when it's pointing for the spell. We've had a few arguments about when the spell goes off and stuff, but generally what I will do is whenever you say the contingency, so let's say it's segment 3 of a round, and the chain contingency goes off with the first spell, the next one and the third one will go off in the third segment of each subsequent round. So that's pretty easy way to kind of do it. That's the way I've always done it. More often than not, my players will just take the 2 spells. Fireball and Lightning Bolt are really popular at my table. There is no actual spell level limit, so Delayed Blast Fireball is also another popular one. I had a player who said, I cast Delayed Blast Fireball, 2 of them, and it'll detonate, for 50 feet away from me, 1 round after it's cast. Set the 1 round timer on the Delayed Blast Fireballs themselves when you store them in your spell. Now you've got 2 Delayed Blast Fireballs that are going to go off 50 feet away from you later on in that round. So Delayed Blast Fireball, of course, is a die 6 plus 1 point of damage per level. So you're at 18 die 6 plus 18 for 2 fireballs, Delayed Blast Fireballs, to damage your target, 2 separate saving throws, etc. So Chain Contingency can be a really good spell. You can also use it to, on a command word, I'm going to cast Fly on myself, and I'm going to cast Fly on the creature closest to me when I activate the command word. The command word could be Birdie. And then, bam, I've got a fly spell on me, and so does the fighter who is standing right next to me. That's just a way to kind of pass on some quick mobility. If the party needs it, it's just an interesting way to use it. So that's really about all I've got to say about Chain Contingency. I recommend it highly. It's a really useful spell. As far as the material components, yes, we go by the book as written. 500 gold piece worth of Quicksilver and a gem of at least 1,000 gold pieces. But let's face it, by the time player characters are 18th level, that's not an impediment to casting a spell. I make my players take the value off their sheets, but it's usually not an issue. And if it is, they just go somewhere, ransack something, and get some gold. So it's not really a problem, at least at my table. But that's all I've got to say today about Chain Contingency. I like this spell a great deal. I do allow it as written at my table. Let me know what you have done, if you've ever even seen this spell. If you have you allowed it at your table? Have you modified it in any way? Please let me know in the comments below. Also, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe to the channel. Tell your friends about the channel. Let's keep it growing. Also, take a look at the Patreon, see if you can help me out there. But that's all I've got today on page 121. I want to thank you for your time. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.